Meeting was properly posted.
Yes, it was.
Great, thank you. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We recognize a quorum of our board with all 7 members present tonight. Next on our agenda is the approval of this agenda, which was posted in advance. I would move to approve this agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Kelly, thank you. Motion and second to approve this agenda. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. We move then to student reports, and tonight we have Mr. Noah Minty, junior from West, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent. And you're going to be giving us the whole update for the whole district.
Whole shebang.
All right. It's all yours. Welcome.
All right, wonderful. So let's start with student life and academics. Only 2 figures here for you today. First off, March is Youth Art Month, and to celebrate it, high school and middle school art is going to be celebrated by collaborating with other area Washington County schools and the Hub to create an art show. Student art will be on display at the Hub from March 4th through the 29th. Dancing with Our Stars took place on March 1st and featured 27 business partnerships that provided great entertainment and raised a lot of money for our East Girls Dance Team. That's all for that. Moving on to athletics, where we have a lot of very accomplished athletes. Starting off, the co-op snowboarding teams once again showed their talent at the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Alpine Racing Association Championships this past weekend. East and West girls team took second place, and individual results include Brianna Schaubel taking second, Chloe Rummel taking third, and for the boys, Gavin Schaubel was third. It was very successful WIAA state championship for the boys co-op swimming and diving team. Overall, the team placed 10th. Congratulations to the following swimmers: Wesley Althke, Weston Keppert, Drew Gundrum, Dawson Walters, Joel Walter, and Frankie Schatz, all placed at state. Divers Madison Rummel and Joel Walter were named the North Shore Conference Boy and Girl Diver of the Year. The WIAA State Individual Wrestling Championships took place on February 22nd, 23rd, and 24th at UW-Madison and featured 6 West Bend wrestlers. Connor Marizola, Cole Marizola, and Ethan Bast all secured state championships, and Caleb Hillshafer, Liam Piankowski, and Carter Henshin qualified for East. West Gymnastics went to state last weekend. The team finished 8th, and special awards go to Michaela Sabulka, who finished 4th on beam. West and East boys basketball seasons came to a close last weekend in regionals. And West bowling, girls placed 11th and boys took 22nd at state last weekend. East bowling also went to state and placed 21st. Many East and West students signed the collegiate letter of intent last week, including Annabelle Gonering, who signed to the Concordia Track and Cross Country, Jenna Pierre, who signed on to Oshkosh Track, Jack Walla, who signed to Concordia Basketball, Cameron McAndrews, who signed on to Oshkosh Track, Carissa Jens, who signed on to Ripon Softball, Jean Eisen, who signed on to Concordia Tennis and Trap Shooting, Beckham Heller, who signed on to Mount Union Volleyball, Mel Prinsel, who signed to Stephen Point's Track, and Skylar McEvert, who signed to Platteville Track, and Isabella Pescador, who signed on to Edgewood Track. Finally, clubs and co-curriculars. So starting off, in total, $65,250 were raised during Charity Week at East and West for all the charities involved. At the charity dance, 750 students attended. A new feature of the dance was the charity dance court. The court included King and Queen, Madison Rummel, and Archie Hughes. Senior reps, Natalie Nass and Logan Roker. Junior reps, Lily Inkman and Teddy Danaher. Sophomore reps, Violet Zier and Mason Bratz. Freshman reps, Ella Dietzler, and Chase Lauders. On February 3rd, members of FBLA competed at the Regional Leadership Conference in Chilton. The following students have advanced to state: Emma Betts, first in Business Calculations; Mason Ellis, first in Public Policy and Advocacy; Elise Riddell, first in Future Business Leader; Ayla Abraham, second in data analysis. Brooklyn Bowden and Kirsten Remy, second in hospitality and event management. Anna Pachesny, second in public policy and advocacy. Isabel Reddig, second in business communication. Maya Davies, third in intro to business concepts. And finally, Abby Weberg, third in agribusiness. Maggie Isakson earned the merit degree in the NSDA Honor Society. Each new degree earned represents hours of learning, practice, and improvement by our students. Congratulations, Maggie. Peers for Peers is planning to hold their second annual health fair to promote holistic ways to take care of mental, physical, and emotional health. The health fair will be held on the South Gym on Wednesday, April 24th from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. West Forensics competed at the Port Washington Pirate Invitational Tournament and won second place for schools with 5 to 10 entries this previous Saturday. We got a fun trophy and everything. Chess Club will compete at the state grade level championships on March 9th. And finally, the Science Olympiad qualified for the state competition in April. Thanks for listening to all the great things that have happened in our school.
Thank you very much for coming. A lot of great things to talk about. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Next, we have public participation. I don't have any comment cards that were turned in. It doesn't look like there are any, so we will move to the next agenda item, which is our consent agenda. And their consent agenda includes minutes from the February 19th, 2024 regular board meeting and the executive session. We have no contracts, 2 resignations, no retirements. The Go Right Way contract continuation, September 1, 24 through August 31 of 2026. And disbursements posted through March 1, 2024. Any questions on any of the consent agenda items? Hearing none, I would move to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Thank you, John. We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries. We move to reports, and our first report tonight is our Curriculum Committee report, and Melanie Aragot, our committee chair, will give the report. Melanie.
Yes. All right. So the Curriculum Committee met on February 19th. We heard a presentation by Michelle Garcia on the Immigrant Children and Youth Grant. The district was awarded the highest grant for the state at $70,000 for 1 year. The grant is dedicated to achieving 2 goals: to increase the English language learners' student reading achievement and growth, and to increase family engagement. We were very fortunate to have Ms. Garcia and our English language learning teachers under this grant, or leading under the grant. And then Dr. Trueblood presented the results and proposed recommendations from surveys of staff and parents on the book lists. So the winter staff survey reported 92% of permission slips were returned, and 6% of parents or guardians noted titles they did not want their child to select. Also, while there were improvements in understanding the process, there was a need for clearer definitions for obscene language, sexual content, and graphic violence, and clearer understanding of the extra time load and the consequences. The participation rate for the parent survey was 10%, so 360 parents out of 3,468 participated. The highlights included more parents in the 5th through 8th grade completed the survey than the survey in the grades 9 through 12. Overall, 41% were not in favor of the elimination of 108 books. Between 78% and 84% of parents allowed full choice of books across the 3 categories. Permission slips were more important and favored at the early grades and less important or not necessary at the higher grades. Themes from additional feedback included trust in teachers, keeping parents or guardians informed, needing an opt-out option for parents that maybe don't have a preference and want to have to turn in the permission slip every time, that they could maybe opt out of not receiving the slip, and so they would not need to keep up with that. Not banning and censoring books, allowing students to choose, offering books that provide exposure to worldviews and political commentary. The committee noted the passion in the comments made by parents and guardians and the importance of considering the maturity of the students and age appropriateness in potential revisions to definitions, threshold, and permission slips. The committee discussed the results and considered the proposed recommendations and will continue discussion at the next meeting with an emphasis on engaging teachers in the future process development. And this concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Melanie? All right. We will move then to the superintendent's report. Superintendent Wimmer.
Just a thank you. I'm sure I'm pretty good to speak on behalf of both the board and administration for all of our community members who participated in our community conversations regarding facilities. We appreciate kind of giving up an evening to learn more and give really important input. You see our work session prior, so the board can use that as they create a long-term facilities plan. So just with gratitude toward our community, our staff members who participated. I had foreshadowed WIA task force appeal. Recall that they, with no notice, gave us a note that they would be shifting our conference to a newly made-up conference. So tomorrow, our high schools will make our formal appeal to the WIA Board of Control in Stevens Point. We are appealing their decision on from the Conference Realignment Task Force to move East and West out of the North Shore Conference, which is what they're in now, to a new conference of 7 entirely new schools. So the Board of Control has 3 options in front of them. There'll be multiple schools testifying around that change. They can accept the plans as presented by their task force. They could deny the plans, therefore keeping the conferences as they are, or remand the plan back to their conference realignment task force to rework it. So if the Board of Control sends it back, the group will reconvene and reevaluate the remanded proposals on April 9th, and once again, present a solution to the Board of Control at their April 23rd meeting. The Board of Control can only accept or deny proposals, and the conference realignment cycle would then be complete. Any effect would be not next year, but the following year. So they're always planning a year out for athletics. So I'll keep you updated. Again, tomorrow is our formal in-person appeal for that. Just a reminder to our board and our community that the deadline for Rolf's Education Foundation Awards and Support Staff Employee of the Year Awards is Friday, March 8th. Consider nominating a deserving staff member for these prestigious awards. We thank the Rolf's Educational Foundation for its ongoing support of our teacher awards. Go to our website to complete that nomination form. If you have any trouble with that, give us a call here at the ESC. We can help you locate that or help you with that process. But again, that important deadline is March 8th. March 13th is the next mental health seminar. It's entitled Coping Strategies, Hope, and Resilience. And that is, again, put on by our Student Services Department. That would be March 13th, 5 p.m., right here in the boardroom of the ESC. The sessions include a variety of techniques and skills that can be used to cope with stress, anxiety, depression, and overall adversity. It will also cover the importance of building hope, purpose, and resilience. You can register for that session on our website as well. Recall that's an ongoing series around mental health. And then just to shout out seniors Owen Damcott from West and Chloe March from East were recently honored for becoming National Merit Scholarship Program finalists. So it's prestigious just to become a finalist. The National Merit Scholarship Program provides just over 7,000 National Merit Scholarships worth nearly $28 million to students, depending on their score on the PSAT and the completion of a National Merit Scholarship application process. So we wish good luck to both Owen and Chloe as they go for those prestigious scholarships, but celebrate their recognition as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Wimmer? Kurt?
I have one question just to communicate. So the new conference realignment, they're taking us more north? Are they?
A little bit of a mix. They were adding, there's a Sheboygan intermix, there's, just others, and it drops out some really historic rivalries. We wouldn't be playing Slinger. We wouldn't be playing Hartford, and it proposed, it was just very interesting, it was a 6:30 a.m. drop of information, and we knew that they were looking to add a couple to our existing North Shore Conference. This took us by surprise, and their districts weren't even on the table for change, got sucked into this. So again, there's several who are going tomorrow to formally appeal that decision. And we've often advocated for let us be part of the process. They announced it in December. We have a very collaborative conference of superintendents as well as athletic directors. So we had already spoken to the committee, the realignment task force, multiple times as a group around our wishes. And again, this was a completely alternative plan that was announced that many were not asking for or even aware. Like I said, some of the neighbors, we were texting like, hey, read your name in this, and it was a 6:30 a.m. drop. So again, we're just kind of highlighting, we would prefer to be part of a solution if you need one, and we want to make sure it's long-term.
So just following up on that, certainly there are parents who will be eager to understand and know the outcome of this. And I think as you mentioned before, it's unlikely that as a result of the appeal, immediately there will be a decision.
We've been communicating with our families. So the high school athletes and coaches have direct communication from the athletic directors, as well as the entire high school community from their principal. And then we followed up with district news that goes out to all families, and it's also accessible to our community so that they are aware of and our next steps. I would anticipate following our testimony that in this Wednesday's edition, we'll communicate individually with, again, student athletes, coaches, all of them, but we'll also put something in district news to just, again, let them know what do we know as of yet, and then what are the next steps, when might we hear. So we'll continue. So good points, but again, we've been communicating to their athletes and their groups, and as well as the high school, because it impacts them.
Great, thank you. Other questions for Superintendent Wimmer? All right, we appreciate your report. We move then to discussion items. And our first discussion item are the policies for second reading. And Superintendent Wimmer, I think you're going to walk us through that item
Correct.
too.
So we had a first reading last time. We asked for any feedback to the committee or the board, and thank you, June. We have some interim feedback. I just want to honor that June brought forward and said, here's a couple questions to pose as we consider. This is a second reading. There is no action, so I'll just go through those pieces. In 119, the high school configuration, we are seeking that renumbering because, again, that old number was not accurate. But in there, June caught in step 4, there is one reference, it says to policy 187 in there. We've been, as a committee, trying to clean up those within policy references to strike those and just have them in the footnote so that we're not creating potential conflict. As you touch one policy, it goes to another, sets off a chain reaction. So you can see I've included in the attachment new from that other first reading is consideration of just striking where it says policy 187. It would show up in a footnote on there for 119.
I also wanted to call out that when I was reading through,
I've got that a little further, if you want. And the other policy it impacts. So if there's any board discussion around additionally striking that, making it in the footnote, I think we could make that change in between next readings. Is there anyone opposed to that?
No, it sounds like it doesn't change the meaning at all. Actually makes it just more
None.
readable and able to be referenced.
Yep, we would keep all it's the expectation around public meetings, public comment, those kinds of things, but again, just shifting that policy number. There was also a question in 165.2, nepotism for board specifically. In parens A, the word "and" follows, and it was the question around, should this be an "or" statement? And the intent in that, it's literally the state statute. The intent is that we're providing the definition. So the definition does include all of those things, so it's an "and" statement. The delineating, if you fall into that, would be more of an "or." So this is intended to be, this is the comprehensive definition, so it's this and this, and it is lifted directly from statute. Meeting those criteria would be a separate thing, but if we find it confusing for our readers, I think we would kind of want to discuss that, should that be changed in any way.
If it mirrors the statute, I think we need to mirror the statute. I have to admit, I normally would have likely drafted that with an "or," but I understand where they may have drafted it that way, and this is based on the statute. So I think we need to reflect the statute's language, but others can certainly chime in.
But I think to June's point, when you qualify for that, when you're determining if you're impacted, you don't have to meet all of those conditions. That is when it's, do you meet one of these things? So,
That was a good question. June, you brought that up, right? You should
yeah.
be in statutory drafting.
Some
Really
excellent
should.
close reading. We appreciate
Good one.
that. The next piece was not around the policy language around nepotism for the employee, but we talk about that disclosure. So how does one formally disclose? How does that come about? So they go into an online hiring process. So even in the hiring portal, they have to disclose. So I've given you that bullet. It says what's the question, and we lead them back to that policy and go through so that they know and understand that. Just because there's a character limit on what we can put in there, and then during the onboarding, we go through that again more definitively around what does that mean. So that's one in the online portal, another during the in-person onboarding process and the orientation. And then upon successful third reading, we made a commitment to then put this language into the employee handbook and notice our employees of the update, as well as then they see that and they sign off at annually around that. And they simply just call into the HR department. So also really good questions of, okay, but how do you put the policy into practice? Are there any questions around what that disclosure looks like? Great.
Kurt, you took a breath. So I'm going to call on you.
I don't have any questions there, but I just
That's
want
all
to
right. Go
reiterate
ahead.
at board meetings for being consistent. I know this is a second reading of the nepotism policies. Again, I will just maybe try to convince other board members. I think this is too constrictive. It might drive cousins, sons, daughters out of the district to other districts. So I'm just reiterating again, I'll be voting against these policies at the third reading and just trying to convince others of that, just because I think they're too restrictive on how far it goes down, cousins and
I
so on
appreciate
and
that.
so. So I just wanted to reiterate that.
No, that's all right. I appreciate that. I appreciate that too. It's a good thought.
June caught a typo in 870. There was a dangling phrase. I've highlighted that and corrected that just to call your attention. And it was the routing of complaints. So if someone inadvertently just gives a complaint directly to a board president, how does it get back to our office? That kind of piece. So we took care of that. So thank you for that catch, June. There was no additional feedback around public complaints. And then it was just highlighting that in 872, we're talking about removing that. We've updated and replaced language in 167 and 870. But just note in that old policy, when we sunset that during our March 12th policy meeting, the committee will have to take up in, when you remove that, there's another policy, 187, around public comments that has a reference to those numbers that won't exist anymore. So once we take action, the committee will then make that corresponding update to that other policy. So you'll see that piece. And again, that's what we're, committee-wise, we're trying to clean up is, in all these policies nested in different places, they circular reference each other. So we're trying to clean that up in the language and just cite it more cleanly in the bottom. So that'll be on our March agenda. And then there was no feedback on the TIF removal. Thank you.
So it's the second reading. So
Second reading, no action.
tonight. Okay.
So with those, I got nods to make those corrections on the one, and we'll keep moving the others forward. So thank you for that.
All right.
And thank you,
Thank
June.
you. Yes, June, you get the traveling trophy for honorary policy committee member. Well done.
Yeah, watch out, June. That's why I was like, do I say June's name? Do I give her credit, or will they try and suck her in?
No, appreciate it. Thanks for being thorough. All right. We next then move to future agenda items and our board meeting calendar. So we have the following meetings currently scheduled, all to take place here at the Education Service Center. A March 12 Policy Committee meeting at 4 p.m. March 18, a regular board meeting at 5:30 p.m. March 19, the Curriculum Committee meeting at 4:30 p.m. And April 8th, a regular board meeting at 5:30 p.m. Again, all here at the Education Service Center. I think this is the most current information, and so we always encourage people to check the official postings just in case the time, the date, or the location may have changed. Any questions on the calendar? Hearing none, we move then to items for follow-up and communication. Anything that any board member wishes to bring up for follow-up or communication? All right, hearing none, we have reached the end of our planned agenda. As such, I would move to adjourn. Second from June. We have a motion and second to adjourn. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Thank you to those who attended and watched. Have a good evening.